All right, so we got Dmitry Bivol praising Anthony Yarde. He said, I was surprised, and this is in reference to the fight Yarde had with Beterbiev. He said, I was surprised. Yarde was faster. He used a lot of his jab. His jab was good. He's a good fighter. Yarde is really interesting opponent. I see he's progressing. He's getting better and better. All right. Those are the words of Dmitry Bivol talking about Anthony Yarde. And this, to me, would indicate that Bivol is considering Yarde as an opponent. Unfortunately, the Beterbiev fight couldn't get over the line because of politics, and not even just boxing politics, but politics, because the WBC are deciding to go down that road, unfortunately, and blame Dmitry Bivol for something that he's got nothing to do with. I mean, I would hate to be blamed. I would hate to be held accountable for something that Rishi Sunak had done. Just because I hold a British passport, whatever Rishi Sunak has done wrong in the world, I must be held. I'd hate for that to happen. Yeah, I think that would be terribly unfair. I think it's terribly unfair what's happening to Dmitry Bivol. He's got nothing to do with what the government in his country are doing. And obviously, you've got the issue of Beterbiev himself being from the same country. So how come it's okay for Beterbiev to fight for the WBC belt? He's got the WBC belt, but not Bivol. Is it because of the citizenship or what? It's a load of nonsense as far as I'm concerned. I think that Dmitry Bivol should just fight Beterbiev anyway, even if the WBC belt is not on the line, because if he beats Beterbiev and the WBC don't recognize him as champion, the WBC will just lose even more credibility. People won't look at Beterbiev as the champion just because the WBC have allowed him to keep a belt, even though he lost the fight. You see what I'm saying? So I think Bivol should just go ahead with the fight anyway. That's my personal view. But at the moment, he isn't going ahead with the bout. And Anthony Yarde is maybe somebody that Dmitry Bivol's looking at. I don't really agree with fighters getting title shots coming off losses. I don't agree with that. Even if they put up a good display like Anthony Yarde did against Artur Beterbiev, there are other contenders out there lining up to fight these champions who are not coming off losses. You see what I'm saying? And it holds up the division. It really does the division a disservice when you're recycling the same guys for title shots when they're coming off losses and things like this. I mean, back in the days, Mayweather used to criticize opponents and criticize rivals and say, I don't fight people coming off losses. And then, of course, he fought Zab Judah coming off a loss against Carlos Boldemir. And Judah was like that back in the days. Judah would lose fights and then get an opportunity, a world title shot right off the back of a loss. I'm like, what's that all about? It's like the sanctioning bodies have their favorites who they keep around and they recycle as opponents for the champions and give them just never-ending opportunities. Anthony Yarde, again, no disrespect to the guy, comes across well and so on, but I don't think he should be getting a world title opportunity coming off a loss. I think he needs to go out there and get a win over somebody in the top 10 before he becomes a viable voluntary defense for either Artur Beterbiev again, although that was a mandatory, right? Or Dmitry Bivol. And I think Anthony Yarde's trainer, Tunde Ajayi, has been talking about moving Yarde up to heavyweight. He said a while ago, earlier on in Yarde's career, that Yarde could eventually go up to heavyweight. I mean, that's a real eyebrow raiser to me. Anthony Yarde will not be successful at heavyweight. And look, you might talk about all the dream it, believe it, become it stuff and all that kind of thing. That's all well and good. But watching Anthony Yarde's career as a light heavyweight, there are two divisions between light heavyweight and heavyweight now. There's cruiserweight and there's bridgerweight. And you're talking about skipping both of those and moving up to heavyweight where you have all these giant guys? No, no. Anthony Yarde is not some exceptional talent at light heavyweight, such that he could skip two divisions and go up and be successful at heavyweight. He's not, who am I thinking of now? He's not Michael Moorer. He's not Michael Spinks. That's not who Anthony Yarde is. He's not Roy Jones. He hasn't done anything like that at light heavyweight. Now, you could look at someone like Tony Bellew and say, well, he was drained for so many years at light heavyweight. Look what he did when he went up to cruiserweight. Yeah, he went up to cruiserweight. He didn't go all the way up to heavyweight, obviously for the David Haye fight, but David Haye's only a small heavyweight himself. Again, Tony Bellew had more of a background in boxing than Anthony Yarde. Tony Bellew had an extensive amateur career. And Tony Bellew at least went up to cruiserweight first before he fought the likes of David Haye and beat some cruiserweights, Masternak, Junior Makabu, and so on. But you're talking about taking Yarde and just skipping those two divisions altogether. Come on. That sounds like disaster in the making. So I wouldn't want to see that, to be honest with you. I would be concerned for Anthony Yarde's welfare if they did that with him. But Anthony Yarde against Dmitry Bivol, if he can go out there and get a win and then maybe fight Bivol as a voluntary for Dmitry, okay. But I would prefer to see Dmitry Bivol give somebody else an opportunity, somebody who hasn't lost yet an opportunity. I would prefer to see Dmitry Bivol fight the winner of Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Aziz. It seems like that fight's going to get made, although apparently Matchroom have been talking to Aziz and talking about giving him a straight shot at Dmitry Bivol and trying to mess up Ben Shalom's plans. We'll see how that all pans out. But if we do get Joshua Buatsi versus Dan Aziz, I would prefer to see Bivol fight the winner of that first before facing an Anthony Yarde or whoever else. So that's just my take on it. And if Anthony Yarde did get to fight Dmitry Bivol, how do I see that fight going? I see Dmitry Bivol winning. I think that Anthony Yarde does have talent, but Dmitry Bivol's foot speed, I think, would be the big difference. Yarde doesn't have slow feet, but he doesn't have feet as fast as Dmitry Bivol. He doesn't have that kind of balance where Bivol can Manny Pacquiao style, constantly shuffle his feet in and out of range very, very fast and punch in this almost karate type stance. So yeah, I think the foot speed and the movement of Dmitry Bivol would seriously offset what Anthony Yarde is trying to do. And Yarde would probably lose by a decision, maybe a late stoppage, but Dmitry Bivol doesn't really stop that many people. So I want to say he'd win. Bivol, that is a comfortable decision against Anthony Yarde. That's my take on it. Yarde's always got a chance. He can punch somewhat. He's not any kind of monster puncher or anything like that, Anthony Yarde, but he's got decent power. And so you give him a chance against Dmitry Bivol, no more than, I want to say, 20%, 25% chance, in my mind at least. So give me your take on it in the comment section below. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.